So you were involved in the selling of Larabar to General Mills. Is that what? Is that
That's correct.
so? What was it? What's that? How long ago did that deal happen?
Easily 10 years ago.
So a decade ago. Now, I have Larabars at my house. My son loves them. He eats them all the time. So I guess her name is Laura. That's the whole.
You're a quick study.
Yes. So what was it like? I mean, how did you land that deal?
It was interesting. I knew her father and ran into him coming out of a restaurant one Saturday morning. And I said, what's going on and what are you doing? He said, well, I'm working with my daughter and we've got this product, and told me all about it. And I said, well, let me get you a copy of my book because I think it'll be interesting for you to read because you're thinking about what's next with your company. And based upon that, read the company. Laura came in, got to know her, and the rest is legendary in my own mind.
So how long did that deal take? Is that a pretty long deal?
It was a pretty smooth deal. We, of course, were working with a blue chip investment banking firm that we do a lot of deals with here in Denver, and she was just such an extraordinary person. It's just a fabulous story of free enterprise. She was very outdoorsy and was climbing one of our many 14ers in Colorado. And with every step she took, she became more and more frustrated because she had like 7 different Ziploc bags filled with ingredients. Snack this, snack that. And when she got off the mountain, she went straight to her home, got out a rolling pin, and started experimenting with stuff in the kitchen. 7 years later, from that date to building the company, we sold it 7 years later.
Seven
And the
years.
transaction itself took 6 to 9 months.
So it was a 6 to 9 month transaction, 7 years building the business, and now it's a household name.
Correct.
And she still lives here locally.
Wonderful lady. I have breakfast or lunch with her routinely, and she's just a rock star.
Wow. And so you've done deals with big names like Larabar, but you've also done other deals with names that you can't disclose. But you said one of the biggest deals you ever did was 500 million. And then you were just telling me before we started rolling that you did 2 deals that combined were right at 1 billion.
Correct.
So you do a lot of smaller deals, but those are some big whales that you've landed in your firm too, right?
It is. I mean, we have no upper limit. We have no lower limit or bottom dollar that we have to meet to take on a case. Our whole philosophy is 100% of our clients are all privately held businesses, have been since day one. And we opened the firm of Minor and Brown. It was Minor and Brown. We had no clients, we had no business, we had no referral sources, we had no children, and we had no household payments. But we had wives who had real jobs and funded us to do this scratch start law firm. And very quickly we realized that we wanted to represent business owners. 90% of all businesses in Colorado are privately owned with fewer than 100 employees. And that's our market. And they sell for some wonderful prices. Our whole philosophy is, our mission is to help you define, design, and implement your exit strategy. And I've written a book on it. My former partner, John Brown, who's retired, great guy, wrote several books on the whole exit strategy planning process. So it's something I'm very passionate about. I mean, we know that. I'll give you a question. I'll give you a quick question here. Pop quiz. What's the most difficult issue a business owner must face and be comfortable with before he or she pulls the trigger to take their business to market, to sell it?
Probably have to do something with finances, I would guess.
Wrong.
No. Okay.
If you'd written the book, you could have made that number one. But since I did it, it's my number one. What will I do after I've sold my business? For most business owners, this is their baby. This is when they look in the mirror in the morning, they say, my name is Jason, but I'm really the owner of XYZ company. And for them to let go of that, it's very traumatic.
The identity.
It's their identity. That's exactly right. And that's kind of the role I play. There was a time when I handled all the big deals. As you get a little bit older, you got 2 things that you got to have patience. You got to have a memory. And I don't have much of either one of those anymore. But I've got rock star lawyers who can still get the deals done. But it's a wonderful practice of law. We're helping people monetize their life's work. And We've generated over $8 billion worth of purchase price consideration to our clients, whether they're buyer or seller.
Wow.
Wasn't trying to give you a promo there. I was trying to
No,
answer
that's
your
what it's
question.
about. Well, I'll tell the listeners. So, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see I've got the book right here. We're talking to the author, Ned Minor. He wrote the book, Deciding to Sell Your Business, The Key to Wealth and Freedom. When was this first published, Ned?
It came out right around 2003.
2003. And I've had my copy, signed copy that you sent me
12 years ago, you said.
Yeah, was it 2012, 2013, something, so 10 or 12 years ago. We got connected somehow because at the time I was thinking about selling my business at the time, and ultimately I didn't sell it, but I was thinking about selling it. Somehow I got connected with you, and you were so kind to get on the phone, and you spent at least an hour with me talking about that deal. Didn't charge me. You were like, "Hey, I just want to help you figure out if this is the right thing." You ended up sending me a copy of this book, and if you're an entrepreneur and you don't ever know when you're going to sell it, but you think you might at some point, you need to pick up a copy of this book and reach out to Ned and his firm, because this is like a textbook for people selling your businesses. It goes through, and it's not, you could just take one chapter and read one thing. Question number 7, how do I choose an investment banker or a broker? Chapter 27. You can just go straight to that and read it. But Ned, you and I have been connected, I guess, for 10 or 12 years, but we haven't stayed connected. But most recently, I now run a mastermind called the Exeter Club, and it's all about getting your business prepped to sell and living a lifestyle around your business. And I was moving, and I found your book, and I was like, I need to reach out to Ned. And so here we are at your office in Denver, Colorado, talking about business deals. So when you started law, did you know that you wanted to go in M&A work, mergers and acquisitions, or
Absolutely no. You get out of law school, everybody that goes to law school thinks they want to be Perry Mason, they want to do litigation. And I did that for about a year with an insurance defense firm, and it was just miserable because it's just, our whole philosophy at Minor Brown is do everything we can to keep you out of court, because once you get into court, it's a downward spiral, and no one ends up happy. So our whole concept that we really formulated way back in the we opened the firm in 1977, and we'd never heard of the term exit planning before, but we somehow figured it out and have been building our reputation and promoting the need to have an exit strategy. There's one given fact: every business owner is going to leave their business. The question is, do they want to be seen carried out on a stretcher, or do they want to be at their favorite steak place in Nashville celebrating the fact that you just hit a financial grand slam home run? And that's what it's all about. It's helping these business owners knock it out of the ballpark, get their definition of wealth, and if we can take their existing income-producing assets, add that bucket to what the net sales proceeds of the business, my question to you is, why would you not pull the trigger today? Well, if I hold it for another 3 years, I can sell it for twice as much. I can say, yeah, but if you hold it for another 3 years, maybe not sell it for half as much. So it's equipping the business owner to take an objective, quantitative look at what do I need to walk away and enjoy the lifestyle of my dreams. And if we can do it, let's do it. If we can't, let's meet with the investment banker or your team of advisors and say, we want to sell it for X. 3 years from now, draw a line in the sand. Every major decision you make from this day forward, stop and ask yourself, if I do this, does it get me closer to that payday? And we've got countless stories of guys and ladies who have done that. And it's a wonderful thing to see.
what's the time frame if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm thinking about selling my business," from that opening conversation to actually signing the closing papers and transferring money? How long does that usually take? Is there a typical time frame?
6 to 12 months.
That fast? So our businesses prepped to sell?
No, they are if they come to us, because the first thing, once we've determined that we're going to go to market, we'll introduce them to an investment banking firm. Investment banking firm, I answer all these questions in the book. So the investment banker's job is to come in and really do the financial number crunching, because they're the ones who are going to be negotiating the economics of the transaction. What Minor Brown is unique at is that the moment the business owner says, let's start this game going, then we'll give them our due diligence checklist, which we know will be identical to what the biggest investment banking or private equity groups or strategic buyers are going to use. And we get a head start on cleaning up the due diligence if we find out there's a pending or threatened lawsuit, if there's something embarrassing that's going on. We clean that up before any potential buyer starts doing any deep due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very unusual because it happens. We go against the biggest law firms in the country. And we sort of sit back and chuckle. I can picture the scene of the CEO of a big publicly traded company going and saying, we're buying Jason's company in Denver, Colorado. And the big hotshot Wall Street lawyer said, well, of course we've heard of Denver because of Elway and Payton. But who the hell is Minor and Brown? To their great joy, they find out we didn't just fall off the turnip truck. Because their worst nightmare is to get a great deal between the businessman and the lawyer he's using as Joe Blow, the divorce attorney, trying to do a multi-million-dollar transaction.
Right.
So, long-winded answer, we have our clients as clean as it can be before we find out who that buyer is.
So that prep time, if I'm a buyer, or excuse me, a seller, I'm a business owner right now, I want to sell, and I'm listening to this show, and I've got one of the top M&A attorneys in the country right here telling me, what
representing you or representing the other side?
If you're representing the seller, the person listening that says, I want to sell this business, what are the top 2 or 3 things I've got to do first to get it ready before it can sell?
Try their existing attorney and hire a Minor and Brown.
This podcast brought to you by Minor and Brown out of Denver, Colorado.
It cost our family plenty to get this deal done.
That's for sure. So you got to get a good attorney on your team, but what else?
You got to have first person we bring to the plate is the investment banker, because they're going to do a deep dive financial analysis, come back to us before we go to market and say, based on all this, that, and the other, and they've got access to thousands of databases, whatever, it's plugged into the computer, and they say, we think this company will sell between X and Y. Are we players in that range? If the answer is yes, let's go to market sooner versus later. If the answer is no, then what do we need to do with your team of advisors to get the value drivers of this company so realistic that any prospective buyer is going to be falling all over themselves to make a deal?
Yeah. So you got into this, you started this firm in 1977, so it's a long time. So it's 40, what is that, 40? It's 40 years, right?
They don't let me do any math around
I
here
don't know,
either.
it's something, it's over 40 years. So you've been doing this, so it'll be 47 years if I'm doing my math right. So you've been doing this for 47 years. You have a team of attorneys now. How much are you actively involved in M&A deals today?
I'm still very involved. I'm the one that develops the relationship with the client or the prospective client. And my standard promises is, I will talk to you at any time. You can call me as many times as you want, no matter how long it takes, and I don't charge you a dime. And we're not doing it because we're expecting to get the transaction, but make no bones about it, we would love to get this transaction and take it across the finish line.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I think really attracted me to you originally, was that you spent so much time talking to me those so many years ago about selling my business, and ultimately I didn't. The deal, I didn't even take it to market. I was just curious, but we stayed in touch, and now you're hopefully bringing you a lot of business, which is that's a long game. It's a decade, but that's how you play it. So you're in the business development side of things, creating the relationships, and then you bring those deals into your staff attorneys, who then set up the perfect deal for somebody to sell.
They're not staff attorneys, they're
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
Hey listeners, a quick message here about something that's been a game changer for my business, and that is Dubb, spelled D-U-B-B. I have been a loyal user of Dubb since they started. I think it was back in 2017, 2018, and I can't say enough good things about their video email platform. With Dubb, I can send personalized video emails that let my energy come through, making every message more engaging. And whether I'm introducing myself to a prospect, connecting people, which is one cool thing that I do with it, or sharing important updates with my clients, Dub makes it easy and effective. It brings the personal back to sales. Now, here's the best part. They are one of my sponsors of this podcast, and without them, I wouldn't be able to bring this amazing content I bring to you every single week. Because they're a sponsor here, they're offering a special deal just for my listeners. You can head over to therealjasonduncan.com/dub. That's therealjasonduncan.com/dub, and that's DUBB. And you're going to get 50% off your first 2 months. This is your chance to revolutionize your email game and your video game. Trust me, Dub has closed more deals for me than anything else. Give it a try. See the difference.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
They're partners leading the
partners.
deal, seasoned, experienced. I've got 4 rock star senior level partners who go head to head, face to face with the biggest law firms in the country. Not summarize, but to put some clarity on this, and I can use this name. I have the right to tell my client's name. Kenny Burtz, owner of Kenny's Fine Key Lime Pies, the top manufacturer of key lime pies all up and down the East Coast. When he called me 10 years ago, he said, Ned, I heard you speak when you're doing your book tour. I said to myself, when I'm ready to sell, I'm going to call this guy. 10 years later, he calls me and we initiate the dialogue. My job, my role is to develop a relationship with these business owners. This is unique, someone that they can call anytime. You can talk about anything or everything. By the time we finished doing Kenny's transaction, I was an intimate part of their family. And I love that personal contact, as you witnessed.
Right.
It obviously made an impression on you. So I'm brought in on any deal if and when there's a real roadblock. We had a situation several years ago. One of my brightest attorneys going against an equally bright attorney on the other side, and they were just deadlocked. They couldn't get over this point. I walked in and listened to these facts. So they brought me in to see if I earned my stripes with the gray hair. And I was almost embarrassed to ask the question. I said, well, have you thought about this? Just like that, and they, dead silence. We'd both gotten so wrapped around the axle that we'd missed something nice about it. I earned my pay that day.
Yeah, well, and that's the beauty of having that outside perspective. I mean, as a business coach myself, I think that's a lot of times all I do. I go in and the business owner, my client, they're working through a deal, trying to figure it out. I can't figure this thing out. And I look at it one time and I go, well, have you thought about this? And it's not because I'm smarter. It's not because I know more than they do. It's because I have a different perspective. Now, my perspective comes with years of experience of coaching businesses and running businesses, and yours also comes with years of experience of being the lawyer that you are who wrote this book. When you wrote this book, did you have any idea that it was going to become the classic that it is? It's such a go-to book.
Interesting answer is yes, without sounding smug or arrogant, but this was a 5-year process. Harry, I'm building a law firm, biggest builder in the firm, biggest developer of business in the firm, having all these responsibilities, very extremely active in the business community, et cetera, et cetera. So the only time the good news is I got a lot of this book written on an airplane. The bad news is I didn't travel very much in those days. But I could sit on that airplane and just crank it out. But my editor and I, one day I walked in with my editor, which we had from day one. I mean, this was a real professional experience, cost-wise and every otherwise. And I said, Kathy, if we don't get this book done in the next 12 months, the first person I'm going to shoot is you, and the second person I'm going to shoot is me. We got it done in 6 months. But it's the first 25 questions are really focused on the emotional components of it, because that's what
Well, like you said, the identity is the biggest thing they got to deal with, right?
and I have heard it all, I have seen it all. I give you war story after war story after war story. But so getting the book, I'll never forget, we were in the conference room. It's after 5 years, and my office administrator came in and said, here's your book. I almost burst into tears. It was like I witnessed the birth of my baby. And but when we first came up with the first 25 questions, which we got done pretty quickly because it was based on the routine stuff that I do daily. Forgot what point I was going to make.
Well, you said the first 25 questions are very personal. They deal with the personal side of things.
I said, Kathy, this is great, but it's about the size of a comic book. So we said, well, let's do more about the transaction itself. I didn't start out to educate them about the deal process, but I realized that was a great missing component. So we got that done. So what's looking better? Let's interview 12 clients who've been through the process. And I was so flattered and honored that all 12 of them independently said, Ned, I would be happy to do that. They didn't worry about it we used their real name, their real company name, didn't disclose dollar amounts. But each one that I selected to be in the book made a certain point.
Yeah.
That everybody, so a complete stranger can read these 12 stories and get some guidance.
Well, you got just on the back cover of the book, it's got this Dick Hinkle of Hinkle Drilling and Supply. You talk about him on page 212. He says, at 3:12 p.m. on April 4th, 2002, our bank called to inform me that the wire transfer had been received. A burden had been lifted from my shoulders. 60-plus families had depended on my every decision to be right. While I had felt privileged by the responsibility, now was the correct time to sell. That's got to feel good.
I am glowing over here. I never tire. I've got this book by my bedside. To remind me how handsome I was when the book came out. But, for some really extraordinary recommendations, go to, what's the big bookseller?
Amazon?
Yeah, go to Amazon and under the, what do you call them, the reviews. The reviews are just off the chart. I mean, they're just off the chart. The depth and knowledge and appreciation, they say what this book has done for me in my business.
So
That's the ultimate reward.
if you think about all the deals that you've done hundreds and hundreds of deals in the last
More than
4
I can
years.
remember.
Yes. What do you think? I'm going to ask you both sides of this. I want you to talk about a bad deal, something that didn't go the way you wanted, that you wished had done. And I also want to ask you about the one that like, this was your favorite deal. This was so fun, and it might not have been the biggest dollar amount, but it was just a fun deal to work through. Give me one or the other. I want to talk about both, but what would you like to start with? The bad deal, the good deal?
There aren't many bad deals. We've had very few deals. Once we get involved, and once we get the input from the investment banking firm, the investment banking firm's job is to really go out and identify prospective candidates. And people think that that's the end of the investment banker's job. Well, that's not even the beginning of the job. Their job is to help identify as large a pool of prospective qualified buyers that we think should be interested in this transaction. We've sold companies to companies who never had any thought of getting into our business area. But once the investment banker makes the pitch, they'll say, well, we are interested in doing this. So their job is to bring in the qualified buyers, and where they really earn their money. So we say in the letter of intent the purchase price is X. As soon as that's inked, it's very typical. It's like any negotiations. The buyer's legal counsel or investment banking firm will start trying to chop away at that purchase price. And our investment banker is going to say no, 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 until his lips bleed. And that's where they earn their money. Say, find the buyer and keep the buyer and get the deal done. I can't recall a deal that's gone south.
So talk about a good one. What's your favorite deal that you can remember off the top of your head?
They're all good. They're all good.
Well, you did the Larabar deal. That's a big name that everybody knows. That's a big one.
For every Larabar, there are thousands of businesses within the $2 million range. So our typical deal is in the $15 to $25 or $30 or $40,000, $1 million. And It speaks for itself.
So when you look back over all of the success that you've had, not only just in the firm, running this firm, growing this firm, but in the success and the deals that you've been able to help manage, be the attorney of record on the deals that went to this finish line. What would you say is your key to all that success? What one thing has allowed you to be so successful in these deals?
Better than my good looks.
Yeah. Yes, we don't all have that, Ned.
Better than my modesty. I'm sorry, what was the question
No,
again?
what's the one key that you think has unlocked success for you in your lifetime as an entrepreneur, as a lawyer?
Developing deep, committed relationships with people from all walks of life. This is ironic. Last night I'm driving home. I'm at the stop sign right by an underpass. And this ancient-looking gentleman from head to toe, long, shaggy beard, hair, looked like Santa Claus on steroids. And came my time to go through the intersection. I slipped him a $5 bill. He said, "May God bless you, son." That was special. I mean, unrestricted kindness to everybody you meet. I wrote a prayer shortly after I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. Some 12 years ago, I'm a rock star in the
Wow.
Parkinson's arena because I've maintained an incredible lifestyle. I wrote this prayer. It's called, I can't think of the name of it.
That's okay.
Thank you, Lord, for this precious day, to live, to laugh, to love and pray, to be the best that I can be, to honor this path you have chosen for me. But if I stray and start to roam, please lift my heart and carry me home. It's called gratitude.
Wow. Wow.
And I say that, I tell that to people, they start crying. People don't feel recognized. People don't feel as worthy as they should. Anyway, I can say one thing to a complete stranger and make his life or her life better for that moment. It's as much as I can give.
Well, we talk a lot about success, and I know that you have successes when you're selling companies or helping people buy companies. Success is when they get the deal done. But how do you define that word success?
It's funny, I was thinking about this morning. You have to look at what's the opposite of success. It's failure. And we don't talk enough about the good things that you're doing. We don't talk enough about your successes. You get dragged down by what you perceive to be a failure. And getting yourself comfortable with the fact that you are in a position to influence others. I wake up every morning and I say to myself, who can I help today? Who can I make them feel better about what's going on, whatever? Even if it's just acknowledge them. Riding up the elevator, I know the name of every person on the janitorial staff at this wonderful building that we're officing in. I can't go past them saying, "Good morning, Ruben." Their face lights up.
So by that definition, do you consider yourself to be successful?
Yes. And humble.
Well, what would you, now here's what I want you to kind of put on your advisor hat. So I want you to speak to me, but ultimately to the audience. But what is your one piece of advice for entrepreneurs? They want to be successful. They want to achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve. Besides having gratitude, besides the things you've already talked about, what's one piece of advice that you would give?
Get involved in your community. Be a player in your community. I've had the extraordinary honor and pleasure of being past chairman of the board of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce, biggest player in the community. I joined that within 3 weeks of the day we opened the firm. Wine and network, meet as many people as I can, develop as much business as possible. But through that, by working together with other business-oriented and civic and community leaders, we've had a real impact on the growth and all the exciting things that continue to draw people to the state of Colorado. So the whole thing about what a success is, defining what it is for you personally, what steps you need to take to get there, what obstacles are going to arise that keep you from getting there. Dealing with those by bringing in other consultants, people to talk to or whatever. But we're all in this thing together, Jason. If we could just get past the politics and all this, that, and the other and really focus on what does it take to make this country great again. It's getting rid of the bipartisanship. Strike that. That's getting rid of the opposite of that. This country was founded on so many great principles, and it's the business community that drives most of all of this stuff, not the politicians. It's the business community. One of my investments over the last 30, 40 years was to have the other honor of being chairman of the board of the Junior Achievement. Junior Achievement is big time.
Yeah.
Teaches kids from kindergarten through 12th grade the whole concept of free enterprise. And it's changed lives. I mean, people come back 10, 20 years later and say, I learned this in the JA program. So starting with the kids at an early age, get them involved in the whole thought process of free enterprise. And free enterprise is not a dirty word. It's a good word. It's what it takes to build this country, build this company. And it's been my contribution to success.
Well, Ned, I really, really appreciate your insight and appreciate you doing this show here in your offices. We flew out this morning. It's a beautiful day here in Denver. People can get in touch with you. What's the best way for them to find this book and get in touch with you?
Pick up the phone, call, ask for my assistant, Aubrey, and I want their name or the return it. We're going to ship it to. It's no charge to you whatsoever. I want this book in the hands of as many people as possible. The more who read it, the more they will benefit. And Minor Brown has opened the door to develop a new relationship, which hopefully will lead, if and when they're ready, to pull the trigger, and knock it out of the ballpark. We want every business owner we represent to hit their definition of a financial grand slam home run. Just call me, and when you do that, I will have I never finished my story about Kenny Burke. Make a long story short, Kenny of Kenny's Key Lime Pies. I spoke to him 2 weeks ago. We stay in touch, which I do with a lot of these people, and that was about a 10 to 12 year relationship before he pulled the trigger. So I'm willing to work with you as long as it takes. My meter never runs. I don't want there any obstacles between myself and a business owner that would prevent us from working together in a mutually beneficial relationship.
Well, so you can go to his website. So what is the website for the law firm?
Ask Laura.
All right, so let's edit this out. We want to make sure we say this right. Let's figure out what the website is so I can say that.
I'll stumble.
That's all right. We'll get it. Can you look it up real quick on the phone? Just see what Minor Brown. John Marr, make sure you edit all this out. I think it's Minor hyphen. Is it Minor hyphen Brown?
No.
Or is it just Minor Brown? So it's minorbrown.com. That's it? That's it? All right.
Double check with Laura.
Well, he's looking at the website right now. Yeah,
Gotcha.
He's got it. All right, so let's go back. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if you want to get a copy of this book, you just go to minorbrown.com. That's minorbrown.com, and just reach out to Ned through the website, and they'll send you a copy of the book.
Complimentary.
Yes, no charge whatsoever.
No shipping, no charge.
Nothing. So they'll just ship this out to you. So you get this Deciding to Sell Your Business, the Key to Wealth and Freedom. And if you're thinking about selling your business at all, or if you're thinking about buying a business, you need somebody to represent you, I cannot recommend them much higher than I'm doing right now. So please go check out Ned. He's a scholar and a gentleman. It's been an honor to know him. and to do this show. So Ned, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me to do this. It means a lot to me.
Well, thanks for your hospitality. And there you go. That's another show on the books. I want you to tune in again next time when I talk with another successful entrepreneur about their journey to success, about how they did it. And today we talked a little bit about this M&A thing. And you know that my whole thing is I teach you how to exit your business without necessarily having to sell it. But at some point, you're still going to have to sell it. And when you do get ready to sell it, what you just heard from Ned Minor today is going to help you get there. Take a chance and call him, look at the book, take a look at it. It's something you need to do. If you haven't left a review for the podcast yet, I would really be honored if you would do that. Just take a second. It doesn't take a second. It doesn't take more than a second, and it really does a lot for my podcast to get it in front of more people. But again, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube, and I'll see you again next time. As always, I'm the Real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the Real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.